Rose, want to start the meeting?
Okay, roll call for the City Council meeting of Wednesday, February 18th at 7:30 p.m. Mr. Brennan, Mrs. Haran-Kunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mirsky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon. All please rise for a moment of silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. President, if I can, ask our God and Creator to give us the wisdom to make the proper decisions for the citizens of the city of Erie. Also ask that we remember those in our community, locally and globally, that are less fortunate than we are, that have lost loved ones since the last time we were in these chambers.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes from the meeting of January 21st, 2015, and bills for payment February 20th and 27th, 2015. Mrs. Haran-Kunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mirsky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Robert. Do we have any requests for repository sales tonight? Do we have any requests for repository sales tonight? Having none, we will have a presentation tonight. Mr. Witherspoon?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It gives me a great honor and pleasure to, first of all, ask the city police officers to come forward, please. And as they approach, these gentlemen, this unit, last summer, most of you know I run the Summer Basketball League on East 19th Street between French and Holland. And we never had to have any police present all the time. Every now and then we have to call them. But because of the gun violence throughout the U.S. and in Erie, I didn't feel very comfortable. So these gentlemen, their unit was there every day, and their presence deterred anything from happening last year. And as a result, I talked to my coaches and my parents, and they got together and told me to purchase an award for them, so it didn't cost the city any money, it didn't cost the sponsors any money, it's appreciation. And the parents said to me, it's God sent that these officers were there. I feel comfortable. They were talking, they were police relating to community, so it does exist. And I hope they're there for years to come. Sir? Thank you. Now, as I get older, I can't read that little print, so I printed on this here. It says, Community Police Award, presented to the Police Department Neighborhood Action Team for their outstanding service for providing support, safety to our families and our community, 2014. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And my saturation?
Yeah, we're actually saturated.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, this say the same thing, but it's a different unit. Community Policing Award presented to the Erie Police Department Saturation Unit for their outstanding service for providing a safe opportunity for our families during the Spoon Summer Basketball League 2014. Gentlemen, I thank you. I love you. Be safe, and we'll see you again in 2015 season. Thank you, sir. I can't get them to talk. They're all business, boy. Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Witherspoon, and congratulations to the Erie Police Department. A great job as usual. Now we will go to citizens to be heard, and we have one speaker who has signed up on the agenda today, Mr. Randy Barnes.
Good evening. Thank you, Council President, Council, Administration, guests. My name is Randy Barnes. I live at 109 Walton Point. People ask me, why do you care what happens in the city, Randy? You live in Harbor Creek. Well, I don't care if I live in Harbor Creek or Mill Creek or Girard or Fairview or Waterford. When any of those residents come to the city of Erie and they go down to a local restaurant and they spend so much in the restaurant and they go for entertainment, depending on where they go, a little piece of that money they spend is collected in taxes, in property taxes, and that's what runs a city. You know, one of the forgotten presidents, Ulysses S. Grant. He's our 18th president. He was born right over here in Mount Pleasant, Ohio. You know, he went to West Point, been out of West Point for several years, but he went back into the military service, beginning the Civil War. Who out there, put their hand up right now, knows what bill Ulysses S. Grant is on? I'm not going to turn around because it's rude not to face the council. Well, Ulysses S. Grant is on a $50 bill. And what's a $50 bill have to do with tonight's talk? Well, since we were here last, I believe there's been City Hall has been open 10 days. So we've taken 10 of these $50 bills and given them to our archivist. 10 of these $50 bills, $500, we've given to our archivist in the past 10 days that City Hall has been open. What can council tell us that the archivist has done in the past 10 days to help the city run better, to help reduce taxes, to help reduce violence, to help? 10 of these in the past 10 days, $500. Doesn't sound like much money, does it? Who out there behind me would like just one of these? Anyone? Okay. I thought maybe somebody might want even one of these. But our archivist has gotten 10 of these in the past 10 days. What has our archivist done? That's what I thought. Nothing. Our archivist has done nothing for 10 of these in the past 10 days. $500 of the taxpayers' money has done nothing. Well, I asked last council meeting if the liaison to the police department could ask if they could put out an APB, all points bulletin, because the archivist is missing. I haven't seen him. Working off-site. Collecting one of these 50s every day off-site that City Hall is open. You know, not Christmas Day, not New Year's Day, not Good Friday, not the days, or the holidays that the City Hall is closed. We don't pay the archivist the $50. But the days that City Hall is open, he collects one of these. And that was courtesy of, let's go back and read from the official minutes by Mr. Minarski, seconded by Mr. Witherspoon, that James Clem to be hereby retained as consultant for the Erie City Council's Erie Archivist for a 2-year period, $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month. One of these 50s every day. Wouldn't you love to have one of these 50s? Wouldn't everyone back there like to wake up tomorrow morning on their nightstand and have one of these 50s? Well, if you collected a $69,000 pension after working here at City Hall for 48 years, you could get one of these 50s every day. Because for those in the audience that don't know, Mr. Clem worked here for 48 years and earned a very nice pension. He deserved a pension of $68,000 a year. But certain city council members thought they couldn't get away, they couldn't function without this man. The city would just go to heck and crime would rise. The basketball program wouldn't get funded. We wouldn't be able to get our grandchildren jobs in the city hall if we didn't give this man $50 every day City Hall is open for the next 2 years. Did he have to train someone to make the coffee? And whose job description is it that makes the free coffee the taxpayers pay for that you're all drinking right now? Water. More water. Okay. Coffee. I know when I walked by there was a full pot of coffee. Now, if we don't drink that coffee, it gets thrown away, that's a waste of taxpayers' money too. And I do want to invite all those in the police department, come down anytime and get your free coffee. Because the taxpayers are paying for it. If anybody deserves free coffee, the police department does. Because we can't raise taxes high enough to pay the police department what they're worth. So let's at least offer them the free coffee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. We'll continue with citizens to be heard. Any other citizens to be heard?
Good evening, Council. My name is McDonald, and my property is 19th and Reed. I was asking one of the councilmen about some information on how much money been spent on that viaduct over there. I'm not going to say they done spent enough to redo it, but they done spent enough looking it over. And what are they looking for? That's what I want to know. All of that money, they have spent thousands of dollars over there looking at that viaduct. Since the new governor come in, I think you should ask him about getting funds for it. Maybe he see things different than Corbin did. I was looking at something about Kelly, or Keller, whatever his name is. I don't even know why he want to be a congressman. He haven't did anything for us up this way. I don't know who he working for. He's supposed to be a public servant. I've been trying to get up with him for about 4 years. I just wanted to ask him a couple of questions. I had a meeting set up, and then next thing I know, they done cancel it. When you get too important that you don't want to talk to people like me, poor people, then you don't have no business in that position. We need somebody with some compassion. That's what it's all about. It's not about you. It's about the people that you're serving. I don't know. I don't know. I wish I did, though. Maybe I could tell y'all something. I'm looking at the paper the other day, and I see you're finna build another something, hotel or something. Everything you're building is tax-free. When you're building something tax-free, you're putting the weight on our shoulders, the property owners. You never own the property, you're paying taxes on it. I wouldn't care if you live 400 years, you'll never own that. You'll always, as long as you're paying taxes, you're not the owner. If you don't believe me, quit paying your taxes. And somebody will be in there to move you out. It'll be the sheriff to move you out. So this tax-free stuff down here that you got on the lake, you got a big old hotel down there. Now you got that convention center. Now you're putting up another building behind that. Tax-free. That don't make sense to me. You got people out here that can't hardly pay the taxes they're paying. Yeah, I just got mine. Well, I still owe $300 for last year. I done got my taxes for this year. Y'all sure will get those taxes out. You sure do that. You need to kind of the fat. Cut some of the fat off of it. You got things going on that you really shouldn't be doing. But I don't know. And you'll hear me say a lot of times, I don't know. When I tell you I don't know, I don't know. And y'all don't seem to know because you're not telling us nothing. You're not telling us nothing. I see how you got your agendas put together here. All these figures. Y'all don't know what these figures represent. They're spending money, taking money from over here, putting it over there. You're spending a lot of our money. Unappropriate. Everything should be thought out and know where that money is going. You don't know where that money is coming in. We could go bankrupt anytime, the way y'all spending money. But we have to pay them property taxes. If we don't, we'll be out in the cold. And that's some cold weather out there to be in. You know, y'all should talk to the people. Maybe you get a better understanding about things. You don't know everything. You don't know what we want. You don't even know what we need. And what I'm looking at, you don't give a kitty. But you should. You should. You want our vote? Vote for me. For what? To hang us? Because that's what you're doing. Well, thank you anyway. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. Richard Wagner, 4228 State Street. 3 months have gone by since you received your last budget. Instead of a reactive approach, I am begging you to become more proactive and start to figure out how you are going to deal with a $4 million shortfall for 2016. Property remediation in our city has become an art form. We cleaned up Hammer Mill, and the only industry that we put on that site is a biofuels plant, which from my understanding, without federal subsidies, would probably have to close. But most of that site sits empty. The Joyce Savacchio Industrial Park is cleaned up, and I believe the only industry at that site is Paragon Printing. The park is underutilized. Let's look at the Mercantile property and the adjoining Union Square project. You really can't point to that as being very successful. The only real movement involved with the whole project was moving a post office 2 blocks at an enormous expense, and also chasing the Visiting Nurses Association off of 13th and Peach and out to Mill Creek. Let's move back to the waterfront. The Gaff property and its 12 acres were in the crosshairs at the convention center for years. Somehow, some way, Events Erie convinced the state that they were the best owners and developers for some of the most valuable property in the city of Erie. What do we have? A new hotel, a parking ramp, and really not much else in the way of interest to move that site forward. The only real hope for a project of that scope is private capital and a professional development team. November of 2013, you approved the transfer of property commonly known as the Port Access Road to the GEIDC, consisting of 4.2 acres being sold from the Port Authority at a cost of $1.3 million. Immediately, the GEIDC was trying to get unique tax breaks by trying to turn that property into a blighted site. Needless to say, the recent problems encountered by GEIDC, now known as Develop Erie, will cause that property to sit idle. Let's turn to 12th and Green Garden, the old home of the Lord Corporation. And let me state, Erie County, of which the city of Erie is a part, benefited from the actions of Develop Erie to keep Lord Corporation here. Unfortunately, is what usually happens when the city gets involved in these type of deals, we lost. For our tax purposes, the building at 12th and Green Garden and the beautiful office space located on West Grandview, just east of Interstate 79. 12th and Green Garden became one of our latest brownfield sites, and Grandview became Lee Combs' newest endeavor, a dental school. As a community, Develop Erie accomplished two major things, and my hat goes off to them. We saved one of the most innovative companies in vibratory control and kept them in Erie County. And the other took what could have been an empty building and converted it into a dental school. Unfortunately, the city lost thousands of dollars in tax revenue, which we'll never recoup. You have on your agenda tonight the appropriation of over $500,000 to study the demolition of the McBride Viaduct. Let's get creative for a change. Let's use some logic that the powers to be used to purchase 12th and Green Garden, the Gaff property, the International Paper site, and relocate the businesses housed in the two big brick manufacturing buildings without roofs on the southeast corner of 12th and Bayfront and tear them down. The years of neglect suffered by those structures have made it impossible to bring them back to life. We have empty facilities all along our industrial corridor that could be utilized by the owners of these buildings for relocation. An agent of the city could then buy them using the state's help, the two red brick buildings, and turn them into our newest reclamation project and clean the brownfield site up and clean up the eastern gateway to our waterfront. The reality is that there are truly three structures that have been allowed to deteriorate. Instead of cleaning up the bridge, we have an opportunity to clean up a bridge and two industrial buildings. It's time to think big. Thank you, and have a great evening.
I have something that can pass around to council. Thank you. Adam Trott, 531 West 6th Street, and I also have a design studio at 10th and State, 1001 State Street. I'm here to clarify some misconceptions, again, that are out in the public discussion about the viaduct project. First of all, the vote tonight to allow the preliminary engineering to continue does not kill the viaduct. It simply allows the city engineer to proceed with preliminary engineering for the entire alternative study work, which a vast amount includes the Buffalo Road interchange improvements. So only a portion of the $523,000 is going to be spent on viaduct demolition preliminary engineering. And by all standards, with a 2.3 projected demolition cost, preliminary engineering at $523,000 would be absolutely ludicrous. So it's obvious that that is not just for the viaduct. So there will be a little bit of money that'll be wasted in this preliminary engineering when we save the viaduct and repurpose it. And by the way, we do, I mentioned last time, we do endorse the Buffalo Road interchange improvements. We think it'll help that area of town. Again, $2.3 million that is set aside for the demolition can be instead spent towards repair of the viaduct, and we're thinking the repair is probably between $3.5 to $4.5 million. So that could certainly take us halfway there already. The LRK numbers have been changing through the course of this thing, so they're not really all that reliable. We don't know if $2.3 million is all it's going to take. And I can caution you that once you dig into the ground to take the footings out from under those massive piers, you're disturbing soil that had been serving as a metal scrapyard for decades and decades. So the risk that we're getting into a huge environmental remediation cost that could spiral way out of control is very possible in that project. And I'd like to really emphasize that the council hold the line on Councilwoman Haran Kunso's suggestion when you approved to accept the recommendation last year, and that is that all the improvements in the area be made before you take away the viaduct. You're taking away 75% of the connectivity from the south side of the tracks to the north side, and it really behooves council to protect that neighborhood and not remove the viaduct till all the other improvements are in place. What I gave to you to look at is that our idea is not pie in the sky. It's being done in other places around the country. This is a trend to repurpose these viaducts to bike and pedestrian. I've given you images of Highline Park in New York City, of the Reading Viaduct Project in Philadelphia, of the Western Hills Viaduct Project in Cincinnati, of the Cannonball Pike Bike Bridge in Madison, Wisconsin, and the Martin Olav Sabo Bike Bridge in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is a national trend to do this. And what we're blessed with is the viaduct is about the right size for Erie to also do this. So the amount of blessings that we have that are sitting there is tremendous, and I ask that council not ignore that. Our team to repurpose the viaduct is growing. We've added, we had artists, architect, landscape architect. We've added sociologists, videographers, graphic artists, researchers. We are growing with skilled team members, and we will show council and city hall how this can be done. And it will be a plan that is sustainable in the future. And we need some time, though. We will need probably all of 2015 to do it. So we're asking that, that council continue to not contribute to the misinformation that is coming from other sources that's being put out in the public realm about this project. And I'll wrap up with a quote from our sociologist who did an analysis on the LRK case study. And he said, "I would argue that LRK's approach to urban design is overly subjective in this case, in that they would prefer all forms of human movement in the study area conform around automobile traffic." And this is against national trends. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trott. Other citizens to be heard.
John Schubert, 2413 East Avenue. I'm down here to say a few words about the bridge. Been here before. We had a company spent $737,000 to come in, and they come in periodically, a few hours. They talked to people that were immigrants, that they needed interpreters to figure out. They didn't even know a bridge existed. So when we go by what L.R. Kimball had to say, again, these are people from outside. They do not know the internal workings of this area. The east side is desperately needed. Without the transportation, the people that are now going to the Bayfront, we're talking tonight, I think it was $523,000 that you're going to vote on. Do you realize that the people on the east side that use the viaduct, that have the detour, I've spent hundreds, and I'm talking hundreds of dollars, and each and every other person because of taking detours, time wasted, and recently we had a councilman was talking about a funeral parlor. Well, there's also a carpet company, 125 years. Their business is down to nothing. This is because when you move that traffic from the Bayfront, they do not drive over to East Avenue and go down. You're not going to do anything with East Avenue without a direct traffic. So it's a waste of time to try to work something out from 12th down when you don't have a traffic pattern there. Like I said, we were using roughly 4,000 cars a day going over that bridge. Every single day there are students and people walking that bridge. We showed Kimball how they could make that bridge cheaper by filling it in. They didn't listen. They didn't listen to 90-some% of the people that were there on the committee. I spent over 3 years donating my time, going out, measuring, doing this, doing that, and these people were blind. Like I said, they come in from outside. Why we get these consulting firms when you have your own people that could actually do much better because they know the traffic patterns? It's a nightmare over there by Broad Street Net. Every day. We have, like I said, that $5 523, we have spent over, the East Side people have spent over $2 million on extra gas and what have you. And these are very, very conservative figures just because of these detours. We're without that bridge for 4 years now. They're talking 2017 to put an interchange in that still keeps you on the bayfront, but it doesn't do anything to help East Avenue. You're killing the city. When the city officials, when we were talking about a bridge being built on Mill Fair Road, he said, well, that's where the people are going. Why don't we shut the city down then? An engineer from the city says, well, we're only 600 feet away. Well, why don't we close every other street here in the city? Because, hey, we're within 300 to 600 feet of each street. Why don't we just close the city down? Why don't we just shut it down? Why are we even here doing anything? Like I said, I don't know what the councilman plans on doing because, like I said, your traffic pattern is the biggest thing that you need, and that bridge is an asset. We talked about the Franklin Avenue Bridge. When that goes down, the Bayfront when it's down, that bridge is very vital to this east side. It's killing the east side. And that the interstates, and I mentioned this before, when they put the interstates in, Route 5 and Route 20 in this area, and this was across the country, they shut down businesses and motels on 5 and 20 because the interstates are running. People don't go that extra block. They don't go to every interchange and unless they're going in for gas or that. So, like I said, we spend $80 million on the airport. People still have to go to Pittsburgh. They still have to go to Cleveland. They still have to go to Buffalo to fly out. There's $80 million. Everyone was so excited about the Bayfront Motel. Oh, we're going to give you $25 million or whatever it was. If I gave you $25 million and you had to go borrow $35 million, would you do it? You know. So, like I said, one of the things, I'm going to close naturally here, but one of the things you have to remember is you were voted in this office to support the people, not the administration. The people want the viaduct. They need it, and the city needs it. The 100 years that Kimball put in there, that they projected for 100 years, was ridiculous. Nowhere, when you built City Hall, you didn't go 100 years, you know. Good night, gentlemen.
Thanks, Mr. Stewart. Other citizens will be heard.
Hi, I'm Lisa Austin, 1262 West 9th. I'd like to thank council for their willingness to meet with us to hear about the viaduct a little more, and I appreciate you keeping an open mind on it. I think that one of the biggest surprises for me in looking at the L.R. Kimball study and talking with others is to realize that it was a mistaken group of individuals who actually did the study. In other words, they had great engineers who were really, really skilled at figuring out how to move traffic, but they didn't have anybody on board in this study who really understands how a city works. And I've been explaining this to people talking about, like, you know, if you have somebody who wants to have a steak, you don't take them to a vegetarian restaurant. In other words, the people who were making the plan meant very well, and they did a great job about figuring out how to move cars and trucks, but they did not understand and did not do a very good job at all really thinking about how people move through a city. And really, this plan, the most important part of it is the city part of it. It's not just the highway part. So I'm appreciative that there's still an opportunity here to rethink this. And the other reason that it's so important is that this is a huge economic development issue for the city. We have a once-in-a-lifetime, really, opportunity here. We already have this viaduct, and we have support from people like John Vanko at the Erie Art Museum, who sees the potential not only to keep it open as a pedestrian pathway and a bike pathway, but to create a destination there that are actually going to bring people to the east side so that they're going to go have their lunch at the New York lunch and start to shop again on the east side. So again, this is, we've seen in a number of different communities how an investment like this can start to transform an area. I remember the south side of Pittsburgh, which was a really kind of rundown place when I moved to Pennsylvania quite a few years ago, and it's really started to change because of the art that has been brought to that side, the galleries and then the restaurants and then the other amenities that tend to follow that kind of influx. So we have that opportunity here because we've got a huge arts community. We already have Poets Hall right there on East Lake Road. We have so many people in dance and music, and where I teach at Edinburgh, we have so many artists, and I think that that is a really a potential that will help change the east side and create reinvestment there. So I thank you for your time. I hope you'll bear with us as we continue to come up with more details about the potential for rethinking the viaduct. Thanks again.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens to be heard?
Good evening, Council. Really glad to see young people here tonight learning about democracy and how things work. A couple of housekeeping issues before I talk about the viaduct. On the agenda, B, you say it every week, it's silent meditation. I respect everybody's religion.
Mr. Whaley, you give your name?
Oh, John Whaley, 447 Gordon Lane. B, silent meditation. I respect everybody's religion. That says silent meditation. I don't infringe on your rights. Please don't infringe on mine. Silent means silent. I think we should respect that. If you want to change it, then let's change it and let's make it vocal prayers, make it all kinds of things, but it's not. On purchase agreements, these are three things I talked about 6 months ago, and things never change. Number 7, we're going to spend $3,200 to buy 3 rifles. Rifles you could shoot a deer with from about a quarter of a mile away. My grandpappy shot all the time, and his rifles would last 50 or 60 years. We have rifles now. I can't believe we need 3 more. Number 13, we have tasers. Love tasers. Let's make sure everybody has a taser. They're charged. They're the newest. They're the best. I love seeing that. I don't know that we need 3 more rifles that can shoot from a half a mile away. I'm not sure that's going to be the answer anywhere. Randy talked about the archivist. There's some issues there, but I think the biggest issue that I have, and I talked about this the last time I was here, the person who retired was a great guy, did a great job. But after 48 years, he hadn't archived anything. He hadn't prepared the city for digital. He hadn't done anything. But now we hired him to come back. But the cool math is, he put 6% of his pay into the pension fund. The city matched 6%, and he's taking home 83% of his final salary. That's good money management. We're not that good. The pension fund has years where it loses money. How did we take 12% of pay from 48 years ago, when he made $18,000, and turn that into $69,000? It's a Ponzi scheme. Bernie Madoff wasn't that good of a money manager. We're not, we can't afford it, that's why we're bankrupt. Okay, viaduct. I can't believe how big of an issue this has become. All of you are talking about it. The mayor's in the paper. The mayor doesn't talk about the shooting, the violence, the poverty, anything as much as we've talked about this viaduct. So to quote Hamlet, "Methink thou doth protesteth too much." What is going on? Why don't we want to save this viaduct? What? I can't fathom it. So the 2 things. 1, you want to save it, and you can't. You don't have the political power. You've tried, you've reached out, you simply don't have the juice, you can't do it, you tried your best. I haven't heard a single person say that or attempt to explain it. 2 is, you don't want to save it. It's on the east side, they don't care. 6 of you are from the 5th Ward, nowhere near that viaduct. I drive by it every day. I manage a factory on the east side of town. Every day, there's people walking it. There's tracks. 2 weeks ago, some of you follow me on Facebook, you might have seen my pictures. I won't hold up my prop, but I got pictures. It was plowed. Someone plowed the viaduct. The Bayfront connector was not plowed where you were supposed to walk. The viaduct was plowed better than my street. So who plowed it? Did Public Works go up there and plow it? Because they sure shouldn't have. That one I'd like an answer to someday. We have an East Side task force. Big press release came out, big task force, but the task force doesn't want to save the bridge that is on East Avenue, that is the anchor. 2 years ago, there was a petition. 22,000 people signed this petition, save the viaduct. We're not saving the viaduct. Things are hard. Saving this thing might be hard. Maybe we're on the hook for 26,000 or 500,000 or whatever. It was probably really hard to build that thing 70 years ago. Eminent domain, they had to get money. It was hard to build it. Jariet Park was hard to build. We had to get land, we had to get money, we had to do this, we had to rezone. But it happened. So I don't know if we have real political power in this town. I don't think we're going to Harrisburg enough. I don't think we're going to D.C. enough. You want to save the viaduct? Drive down to Butler and talk to Mike Kelly. You'll have the nicest viaduct in town. Work together, learn politics. Listen to the people of Erie. Real power, Convention Center Authority. Taking empty lots, putting up hotels, putting up $100 million buildings, putting up another hotel. Lots of obstacles. These folks want it to happen. They're making it happen. It's impressive. Maybe we could learn from them. So lastly, I'm just saying here, it's almost like the movie A Few Good Men. There's nobody here from the east side that walked over that bridge today. Maybe they don't know how to come down here. Maybe they're afraid to come talk. I'm going to fight for them. Other people are fighting for them. Go watch it. Go watch people walk that bridge. Watch kids come home off of East High and cross that thing, and you'll save it. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens to be heard? Are there any other citizens to be heard? I see there's a lot. Is there another citizen to be heard here? No, you already had your chance. I'm so sorry. We just get 5 minutes per person. Yeah, but no, we can't. We can't. I wish we could, because then everybody would be able to stand up and give their opinion. We can't. We appreciate, though. Thank you. Thank you. That's we can't accept more statements. I appreciate it. Thank you, though. Yeah, we wish, because we have 5 minutes per person. We don't want to be unfair to anyone. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you. Are there any other citizens to be heard? I know there's a lot of students in the audience tonight. Is there any representatives, or can anyone identify what groups are out there? Is anyone bold enough to come up and introduce themselves? I see a lot of people looking back and forth, but usually when we get students, and we'd like to at least see who's coming to the meeting, and we'd love just to hear you introduce yourself. We don't need a full speech, but just like an introduction, we'd appreciate it.
Water or free coffee? It's free coffee.
Hi, I'm Natalia.
You can pull it down.
Hi, I'm Natalia.
I'm Elizabeth.
And we're with Youth Leadership.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And you're how many people are here today? Just I'm trying to figure out who's on.
Just yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And there's a couple other groups.
Hi, my name is Carol Amon, and I teach at Gannon University. The course that I teach, one of the courses I teach, is on health policy and how we can make a difference by having our voices be heard. So the representatives in the back, if you raise your hands.
Oh, there's the majority of students. Okay, that's what we were going to figure it out. Okay. Well, great. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And there's another group.
My name is Mark Hess, and I'm with St. Luke's Boy Scout Troop. We have 4 of our Boy Scouts here tonight working on their merit badges for citizenship in the community and communications.
Oh, great. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. I believe that's all the citizens to be heard. So, Ms. Roby, do you want to continue with the rest of the meeting?
Okay, ordinances for final passage. Council File Number 15909, official ordinance number 7 of 2015, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $523,000 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to provide for the expenditure thereof for the preliminary engineering and feasibility study of McBride Viaduct East Avenue Bridge supplement. By Mr. Mursky and seconded by Mr. Brennan. that council file ordinance bill number 15909, and now known as official file ordinance 7/2015, be finally passed by the City Council. Mrs. Arankunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. City Council passed official file ordinance number 7/2015, finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Ordinance for first reading. Council File 15910, an ordinance approving the plan of the Erie Sewer Authority for the issuance of an aggregate amount not to exceed 30 million taxable sewer revenue bond series of 2015A and tax-exempt sewer revenue bond series of 2015B, and setting forth the amount, interest rates, and maturity dates of the bonds, authorizing the authority to proceed with the plan of financing, authorizing the execution and delivery of a lease agreement and the incurrence of lease rental debt thereby, authorizing the specified officers of the City of Erie to prepare and certify the debt statement and to do all other acts necessary to carry out the provisions of the ordinance, setting forth the payment of the sewer revenue bonds and the source of such payments, repealing all inconsistent ordinances, and providing that the ordinance is effective immediately.
Mr. President.
Yes, Ms. Murphy.
I just wanted to explain, we have so many young people in the audience and people that aren't here, or people that are learning about government. An ordinance is basically a city law, and so what we're doing here is the first reading of a law, and we will vote on it. And when you hear us, our city clerk reads our names, if we don't speak, that means that yes, we agree with it. So I don't know, Mr. President, if we'd be able to use the tote board just to show them on this to vote.
We could do that. I mean, I will try. It'll be my first time. So
all right, I think it's a good time to try.
So we can do that.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Roby, do you want to read the?
Okay. By Mr. Mursky and seconded by Mr. Witherspoon, that council file ordinance number 15910, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by the City Council.
Everybody votes. It says it's on.
Does it?
They don't
voted?
use it that often.
It's not on.
The button says on. So.
Might be the breaker switch.
Oh, is it at the?
Is the light on the board?
See, they have registered.
Is the lights on?
Mr. President, I apologize.
On this.
This is on. Everything's turned on, and
There's a little instructions there on the front of it.
Yeah, we got it. We got it.
It says call technician.
The lights on.
Just call technician.
I know.
Yeah.
It's not lighting up.
So this is, where's the power to this?
There you go, Kaz. Check.
Kaz is on the case.
Okay.
Cavs on the case? Okay.
Uh-oh.
Thanks, Bob.
I know, right?
Does this ever happen easily and never?
No.
This has absolutely never happened before.
Well, the teacher in me is going to come out now, and I'm going to give a little lesson here to these kids. So if you look at our agenda, what you see, we had roll call, and then we have citizens to be heard. We listen to all the citizens, and we're not, the way our rules are, they're allowed to speak, and we don't answer back. That's the citizens' time to speak. And that's part of a good democracy, is that it's a participatory democracy. They're allowed to come and talk and tell us their opinion. And now we're voting on our ordinances, which are our laws. And then after this, we'll pay our bills, which is basically passing the laws to release the money for the administration to do the job of running the city government. And we're the legislative branch. We're the branch that makes the laws, and then you have the administration that actually carries out the work of the city. So.
Okay.
Thank you, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mursky. I think that's a good thing, because it's good to, they're here to learn something, not just to watch us talk about other things, so thank you. Do we want to continue, Mr. Roby?
Sure. Okay, roll call. Mrs. Rankunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance Number 1510 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion to move the balance of the agenda.
We have a second?
Second.
Mr. Witherspoon, second. Do we have any separations? Does anyone on council have any separations?
Mr. President, do you want to explain what I did?
Yes, we for the students, we for this action, we're going to be voting on the rest of the balance of the council meeting. There's all the rest of the new business to be voted on. So instead of going over each item individually, we have one vote, which will take care of the vote for the rest of the agenda.
Okay, then moving the balance of the agenda. Mrs. Rankunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. That'll take us to committee reports, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Roby. Let's start with Mr. Witherspoon today. Do you have a report?
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
Thank you, Mr. Witherspoon. Mr. Mursky.
Mr. President, our Convention Center Authority meeting is tomorrow, so I don't have anything to report on that. I just want to thank the St. Luke's Boy Scouts, Gannon University, and the Youth Development Leadership Institute for being here. And that's really all I have. Also, just two events that I went to, and I wanted to just recognize the City Mission for their Knockout Homelessness event. It was very well attended, and everyone had a good time. And Young Erie Professionals had a social at 1201 Kitchen last week that I attended, and it was very exciting to see so many young people, young entrepreneurs. I met a few, more than a few, at least 3 or 4 young entrepreneurs that are starting businesses in the Erie region, and that's very exciting for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mursky. Ms. Kunso.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Just a couple things. The Water Reserve Investment Committee received a report for the fourth quarter of 2014 performance of the funds. These funds are invested so that 4% of the value of the fund can be used for capital improvements of the city each year, and those funds continue to perform well, and we have active management, and so we're able to bring some investment to the city, so we look forward to helping again this year with that capital improvement budget. Also for the citizens, the last meeting we had, we were asking about the likelihood of when the property tax bills would be coming out. Those did get mailed out in the last few days, so you should be receiving them if you haven't yet. There are discount periods to paying your property tax, so I want to make sure the citizens take a close look at that. If you pay early, you get a discount of 3% or 2%, and so you want to take advantage of those as much as humanly possible. I know we're all on a budget, so take a look at your tax bills. County and city bills would have come in the mail in the recent days. The discussion about the McBride Viaduct, we have talked about this issue many times over the years, and council has tried to bring in the interest groups who have expressed a desire to repurpose the bridge, and to talk with both the administration and the mayor and the PennDOT, who is party to the study and paying for most of the study. And we did facilitate some of those discussions in an attempt to look for some kind of alternative solutions. I think most of council is still interested in looking for a way to make a change that can possibly keep the bridge intact. However, the action that we took today was to appropriate the funds to pay for the study. One of the big issues has been that if we don't follow the recommendations of the study, then we'll have to pay for the study out of pocket, out of city budget, which $500,000 would be very difficult for us. So I think we're just to clarify the City Council's position, I don't think any of us have ever wanted to take down the McBride Viaduct. We sort of have been on the receiving end of a study that recommends doing something that if we don't engage in the follow-through of the study, then there'll be some detriment. So the citizens group who has taken action voluntarily to get engaged and take their own time and energy to look for solutions here. But my biggest issue is that their involvement hasn't been as welcomed as it should be. We should be embracing city residents and volunteers who want to come with unique solutions for our city. As Bob explained, Mr. Mursky explained, we are the legislative body of the City of Erie. We are not the executive branch. We are not administering the day-to-day operation of the city. We're not in a position to tell the city to fix the bridge and maintain it. We make a law, but we can't enforce a law. We could make a law that says you can't take down the bridge, but we can't enforce that law. We do not have enforcement power. So we have to work together as much as possible. And I know we've talked a lot about the pedestrian needs of the east side and the folks who are walking on that East Avenue Bridge to and from school every day, and making sure there is something in place for pedestrian access before that bridge is demolished. And I think we've talked about that very clearly. You can't take down the bridge and then fix up the sidewalks and the walkways for the young people to get back and forth. There has to be safe passage before the bridge is removed. So, I just want to clarify our position. I think we're in a unique spot here as City Council, and the more you understand our support for your position and our attempts to try to bridge that gap between the two different items and the two different positions on this. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kunso. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. No specific report as far as committee. I just would like to kind of echo Councilman Witherspoon's celebration of our police department. I was at those games a lot over the summer. My son played in the league, and a lot of the participants were really appreciative of that additional support. So I think sometimes the police department gets a bum rap, sometimes deserved, sometimes not deserved. But in this instance, it's good to celebrate when things are going well, and that's a great example of community policing. Also, this being February, just want to recognize, in this country anyway, is recognized as Black History Month. And we don't do a lot of celebration on this dais and in the city per se, City Hall per se, around Black History Month. But I just want to take a moment to celebrate the contributions of members of the human family who happen to be Black. And talk about Black history as American history and world history. And so I think it's not intrusive, not out of line to recognize that, to understand that we're all here together. We may have got here some crazy different ways, some by choice, some not by choice, and all of those things in between, but we're here together now. We're living in the same community, we're living in the same space in Erie, and we need to work together to try to make it as good as it can be by giving to each other, not taking from each other, and recognizing that each one of us has some significant value and something to add to the human family and to our experience. So whether it's a religious difference or a racial and cultural difference, whether before we have a silent meditation, we have a recognition of prayer, it all works together because we're all here together. And so just wanted to take a moment to recognize and to say publicly that this is Black History Month, and it is worthy of commenting. And we're all, again, the world is better because of the contributions of every part of the human family. But again, today we recognize the Black community, not just in Erie, not just in the United States, but it goes a lot further back in the human experience than the United States experience. So, and then finally, you know, a lot of times, you know, citizens will say that we don't say enough about violence. We don't say enough about some of the social ills, and sometimes we don't, to be perfectly honest. But we can talk a lot, but the question is not, are we going to talk about it? It's what can be done about it. And regrettably, behind this desk, we are really limited in some of the things we can do. But I think it's important for citizens to know that many of us outside of this desk do a lot in the community, are in the neighborhoods, are on the east side, even though we live on the west side, have family that we visit, have places that we visit on purpose all over town. And I think that's important to acknowledge and recognize, because we know our responsibility is not to one area, we're at large. And we're really blessed to have the opportunity to serve the entirety of the Erie community. And I think we do that. Can we all do better? Absolutely. As electeds, we can do better. As citizens, we can do better. As citizens, you can do better. We're all here. But again, the point is we're all here together. And so let's just remember that we can kind of do more constructively than we can destructively. So if we disagree, we just disagree, but let's keep working together for the common goal, which is the good of our community. And whether it be violence, whether it be poverty, let's not just talk about it. Let's be about it. Let's get in the community. Let's work around education. Let's work around fiscal management. Let's teach what is not known. Let's make it available to those who need it. And takes a little bit more than to talk about that. You got to do it and get out there and really be more than just driving by. You can get out, talk, be engaged. Each one, reach one, each one, teach one in our community, and it'll be better. That's my report. Not really a report, kind of my sermonette for today. But it's my heart. And I think it's important. Sometimes we do some legislative stuff, but you got to show your heart sometimes, because the citizens, again, get the opportunity to kind of just shoot off, and which is important. But there's a back and forth around that and the communication. So thank you, Mr. President, for the extra time as well.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Winarski.
Thank you, Mr. President. No committee reports this evening, as both of my committee meetings are next week, so I'll be reporting those at our next meeting. I want to thank all the young people that came out tonight. Made it a little cozier in here this evening with the weather outside. It's nice to see the young folk interested, involved, and I know all of the councilmen appreciate, councilmen and women appreciate you coming out tonight. Mr. Curtis, I know you mentioned it, but Mr. Witherspoon, thanks for recognizing our law enforcement. Although in your situation it was just for a couple weeks during the summer with the summer basketball program, but okay, a couple months. But we appreciate what they do all year long. It's not an easy job, and sometimes it's a thankless job, but they are out there doing what they're getting paid to do, and each and every one of us need them. Other than that, everyone stay warm, and spring's around the corner, and have a good week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winarski. Mr. Kwiatkowski.
Yes, I met with the Parking Authority as part of my committee liaison, and I will be getting together with you, Mr. Brennan, President Brennan, and we'll set up a meeting with Ray Massing on some issues that you would like to go over, and I know we have some. They will be repairing 2 parking ramps as part of their ongoing repair project. I'd like to mention something about the pension. I couldn't attend the pension meeting this week, but I did check in with the president of the Aggregate Board, and the fund itself is, I believe, up around $230 million at the present time, making excellent progress. They're in a search now for possibly 2 money managers. This is a very proactive group that if you don't make us money, you might be out of business, and that's what we're doing. I'd like to mention to the public, because there was some misconception here, and even though I didn't vote for Mr. Clem's salary or anything like that, it would be wrong to give the public the impression that the pension fund that pays Mr. Clem is in trouble. It is still underfunded, but it is gaining funded status slowly, and that's according to the latest actuarial reports. So if anybody wants to question that, feel free to check with the controller or anybody else who has the actual reports, and you'll find out that the O&E fund is gaining fundability. Its funded status is increasing. And compared to the rest of the Commonwealth, I know it doesn't sound good, but we are in better shape. So I want that clarified. What's wrong is wrong, what's right is right, and I like to make sure that the right information gets out there. About the McBride Viaduct, no one here is a bigger advocate than myself. And I've said a long time ago that the bridge may be 600 yards apart at its terminus. But those of us who live on the east side know it isn't 600 yards apart at the other end. That there is a difference whether you take the McBride Viaduct or the Bayfront Highway. There is a difference. If you don't know that, then you really haven't used the road. And I, for one, would like to see some use come out of it. And I have said in the past, even though somebody said no one's ever mentioned it, I have said that if we were Pittsburgh, we'd have that bridge. All you have to do is go down to Pittsburgh, count the number of bridges on the north side. If proximity was a problem, you wouldn't have them there. Also, they built a subway station there based on 81 baseball games and 8 football games. So, you know, what's that, 90 dates, and you built a subway station nobody wanted, really, but they built an underground tunnel. Go around Penn State, to east of the Susquehanna problem. Anybody east of Susquehanna knows that's where the power is. That's why we're forgotten here. They built a highway system around Penn State University that's funded on what? The premise of a couple of days that the kids go back to class and 8 football games? There is a problem. This week, before I go on with this report, I'd like to thank a group of nurses on the 5th floor at Hammett who took care of my wife this week. She had some surgery. I wanted to thank them. She got great care from one of the great medical facilities in the city. We have 2 of them, of which I'm proud I've used both of them. And this week at the Women's Hospital at Hammett, I saw the result of some good, dedicated employees that took care of my wife. Now, what I learned from them is that some of them from out of town, so I had the pleasure of talking to them and asking them their opinion of Erie. And the ones that came from the east of Pennsylvania had to admit that when they first applied to come here, a lot of them didn't know about Erie. Now, that's sad, but that kind of tells you what the problem is in Harrisburg. They don't take us serious, and it's probably our fault. So I hope this bridge, whatever we do with it, I hope we try to find a way of saving it or of repairing the area. It's a shame when I have to look at those 2 factories every day I come down that area. Something's got to be done. Now, we've been nice to the owner of that building, but it's time that we started doing something. I mean, we've given them enough time, and it's starting to it's a blight. I've heard people comment on my show. I've heard people comment to me in public that, you know, having to look at 2 buildings that look like they should be a museum for the bombing of London is embarrassing, and we should not be proud of that. So I'm encouraging the administration to start putting some teeth into the ordinances that this council passed many years ago. And with that, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kwiatkowski. Does the controller have any report today?
I'm going to just touch upon what the council people have already said about the aggregate board and the investment, but I have all the reports here if anybody's interested in reviewing them, reading them for the water reserve and the aggregate. And they'll be in my office, like I said, if anybody's interested in taking a look at them. And the funds are doing well, so it's a good thing.
Okay. Great.
That's it.
Thank you. Is there any report from the administration?
Just very briefly, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Kwiatkowski, you forgot to mention that you went to the VA hospital for National Salute to Veterans Week.
Yes, I forgot, but that's something I like to do anyway, so.
Yes, yes.
I encourage anybody, if they'd like to volunteer, they're constantly looking for volunteers there, and I'm signing up this week.
Very nice. I just wanted to let Council and the audience know that Mayor Sinnott and Mr. Kwiatkowski, along with some other members of the administration, did visit hospitalized vets last week. It's something that Mayor Sinnott enjoys doing. He's done it every year for the past 10 years. It's nice to go up and shake some hands and spread some love in the VA hospital. Did meet with the Veterans Miracle Center group this morning. They are opening a facility on West 38th Street. They will be providing household items to veterans who are coming back from overseas, coming back into the workforce. They'll be vetted through the VA hospital and working with the disabled American vets to get these people up and running. Mattresses, coffee makers, toasters, toiletries, any kind of supplies that they need, this organization is going to be collecting. It's off of a model that's in Albany, New York, and has been working very, very well. So we're looking forward to touring that facility the next couple of weeks and into hopefully early to mid-March. Destination Erie is moving forward. Hopefully everyone will be seeing the phase 2 of the implementation plan for Destination Erie. Hopefully again mid-March they'll have that vision set ready to be set forth for the public and take Erie into the next 40 years or so. And yes, February is Black History Month. Every year, Edinburgh University has the Martin Luther King Awards Luncheon. I know that the administration will be sending some folks down to Edinburgh to enjoy that opportunity and honor some local folks. So that's all. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any report or comments from the Solicitor's Office? No report, okay. I do have a couple of comments here. Just to kind of add to the comments that were made about the McBride Viaduct. I mean, I do agree with a lot of the comments that were said at the speakers today, for the speakers, and also many of the comments that were made by fellow council members. But I do want to again thank the groups and individuals who are put all the time and effort to try to put a plan together and continue to try to put a plan together. You know, I know it takes a lot of time to do that, and it's, you know, you're doing it for the good of the city. So, you know, I again want to thank you and appreciate the work that you've done on this. Again, about the ordinance, I mean, I voted yes on the ordinance because a no vote would mean no improvements would be going on in the area. So really, it was something that you know, we had to do to make sure that that money comes in and we're able to make the improvements at the Buffalo Road interchange. And again, a lot of my comments I have here were already stated, so I don't want to just repeat things that were said. But I do agree with that it would make sense in the schedule to do the bridge demo last, following getting the other work at the Buffalo interchange done first. So that does make a lot of sense. A couple other things here. I have an update regarding McClellan Park. I've been working with a group to put together the dog park that's being planned for there, and I just want to report that the dog park equipment was ordered, and that probably in April it's going to be installed in McClellan Park. And I want to thank Doug Mitchell and Sarah Galloway for all of the work they've put into working with the group and trying to get done what needs to get done. And also thank you to Preservation Erie for being the grant sponsor, for ECRA for the sponsorship, and also for the help in writing the grant application. I do want to report on 2 future study sessions for City Council. Tomorrow night we're meeting with the Neighborhood Resource Center. They'll be presenting updates on their activities and an overview of their organization. That's going to be in this room tomorrow at 5:30. And then on March 12th we're meeting with the Erie Downtown Partnership and their consultant for the Downtown Master Plan. We're meeting again on March 12th at 5:30 in Council Chambers. And with that, meeting adjourned.
City Council adjourns at 8:44. Mr. Brennan, Mrs. Rankunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mirsky, Mr. Winarski, Mr.